is betrothed to Maven, but she kind of likes Cal, but also she does kind of like Maven, but she also doesn't trust him at first, but then she does trust him. So, hello, and welcome to my series of books that I was obsessed with at age 13. I am no longer age 13, I'm now 21, and I've been, basically ever since I finished school, I did A-level English literature, I've not really been properly into reading the way I used to be. I used to be reading like 100 books a year, I used to read a book a week easily. So I thought it might be time to go back to my roots and revisit the books that I loved at age 13. I think I had both poor taste and at times good taste. But I did have a good time. I was enjoying myself. So we're going to begin with what I genuinely do think was my absolute favourite book series, and I don't know that anything has ever really topped it. I think I was probably more obsessed with the Hunger Games, but I'm not even sure if that statement's true. Long story short is the Red Queen series. I loved these books so much. Like, words cannot express to you. I'm pretty sure I wrote fan fiction. But yeah, I think I read Red Queen when I was 12, because it was soon after King's Cage came out. Because I remember waiting for Warstorm to come out, and I remember waiting for Broken Throne, the novella series, like the main series book. It's this one. It's this one here. I remember waiting for both of those and being really excited. I also went to author event in London. I like begged my parents to take me. Pretty sure it was on my dad's birthday, and I went and I was like dressed fully like Scarlet Guard. I was obsessed. Words cannot describe to you how obsessed with these books are. I was maladaptively daydreaming about this 24/7. So I was definitely very excited to jump back in. So before I get into it, let me just give you a brief summary of the Red Queen books. So Red Queen is jumping on the YA dystopia train that was all the rage in the mid-2010s. This was a royalty book. If you can't tell, there's a crown. It's called Red Queen, and basically the concept is that it's a society where you have silvers and reds, called so because of what colour their blood is, and the silvers have magical powers and are the ruling class, and it's a very oppressive society. The reds are basically really poor, live in slums, get conscripted and go to die. We begin following Mare Barrow, your plucky YA protagonist. She's your pretty bog standard YA protagonist. She has a special skill. Her special skill is stealing, which actually feels realistic. I kind of like that her special skill is stealing. It's not a super strong one though. It's not like, she's the best assassin that there ever was, or she's the most amazing huntress that there ever was. And I like that because she is a 17-year-old and she's just a really bog standard girl. But her friend is going to get conscripted and she tries to help him. She tries to steal from somebody who then gets her a role at the palace. He turns out to be the crown prince. Whoa, what a shocker. And the long story short is that despite the fact that she's red, she falls into this arena during this trial to choose the next queen, and hey, she has lightning abilities. And the whole story follows her being hidden in the castle. They basically pretend she's silver to cover it up. And yeah, she gets thrusted into this kind of upper class life after coming from very poor background, very unjust society, and she's not happy about it, and she doesn't like any of them, and she thinks they're all assholes, which is true because they are upper class assholes. She then joins up with the Scarlet Guard, which is a freedom fighting / terrorist organization / rebels, depending on who you ask. And they basically try and overthrow, I should say, spoiler alert, they basically try and overthrow the regime. And I will get more into what happens as the story progresses from there. But that's basically the background. So I remember a lot about this series, but obviously it's been a while. So there were characters that I'd completely forgotten about. So I know Mare, I remember Cal, I remember Maven, I remember all the main characters. I remember Evangeline. I had completely forgotten about Killorn, who is one of our main protagonist's love interests? Question mark. He's like the boy from Home, but I'd completely forgotten about him. He is kind of important to the plot because the whole reason Mare gets into this situation is because she's trying to save him. So that was an interesting one. I was like, oh my god, this guy exists. That was one of my first shockers. I forgot about Cal's cycle, so that was exciting. I was like, oh my god, he has a motorbike. He's rich, but he has a motorbike. He's so down to earth. Okay, so now I've given an overview of the plot. Let's dive more into it. So when I first read this book, I basically zoned out while reading it. I do this sometimes. I still do it, to be honest. I'll just zone out while reading and I will not take in any of the information I'm being given. Even though I sit and read the whole book, I don't take anything in. So I know a lot of people were shocked by the ending of this and they're like, I have trust issues. I can never trust what this author writes ever again. I cannot speak to how surprised I was by the betrayal in the book because I was not paying attention. It's important to know that I am not a very literate person. My reading comprehension skills are poor. And yet, reading has been one of my top hobbies as a teenager. I don't know why. I am not intelligent in that department. I was a very late bloomer in terms of reading. I couldn't read by myself until, I want to say age 9. So, this is important context. So I didn't see anything coming or not. But rereading this book, now I have my brain. I have brain. It has begun to develop more. We've not reached frontal lobe stage, but has begun to develop more. Thoughts and feelings about the big plot twist, which is, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, but this book has been out for a while, so you either know or you don't at this point. Basically, Maven, who Mare is betrothed to, and her join up the Scarlet Guard and have this plan to overthrow using a coup. And Mare is like, there's something going on between her and Cal, who is the eldest brother and he is the heir to the throne, and then Maven's second brother. Mare is betrothed to Maven, but she kind of likes Cal, but also she does kind of like Maven, but she also doesn't trust him at first, but then she does trust him, but she doesn't really, like, deep inside, I think she knows something is off. Her and Cal, Mare's like the whole time she's like, he is nice, like he is genuinely a good guy, but also he can't escape the societal structure he's in. And I actually quite like how he's written, I will say, but we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, there's this big betrayal where they have this whole plot planned where Maven is like, well, the coup will succeed because Cal will save you, Mare, because he loves you. Which, me reading, I was just like, what? Like, yeah, there's a situationship going on, but who is sat here thinking, oh my god, they're so in love that, like, he's gonna let her take over the country? Like, that's not where I was going with that. But apparently, it's believable to the Scarlet Guard as well. Like everyone just goes along with this. They're like, yeah, he'll let them stage a coup because they're in love. What? Because they're not. Like, there's sparks between them. They've kissed. He's taken her on his cycle. You know, all these things have happened. But, like, it's definitely not believable that they're so in love. That is interesting. I will say, massive Mare Cal shipper. I was ride or die for Mare Cal as a teenager. I will see what I am now. I think I'm biased because at the moment I'm like, well, I know I like them, so I'm gonna like them. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I definitely don't ship Killorn and Mare because that just seems a bit meh. And obviously Maven's psychotic. So the choices aren't great. I will say though that there are certain elements of the plot reveal that I think you can kind of predict, and then there are parts that you don't. And I do think that is how this book is really well written, that there's obviously the reveal of they think Cal is going to, let them stage the coup because he loves Mare. And then there's the reveal where he's like, it's always been you. And it's like, the cheesiest, like, I love you so much. And then he's like, it's always been you. You're the person betraying us. Ah. Which is like, what do you expect? He's known you for like a month at most. So there's that reveal, which is like, oh my god, gag me, oh my god, oh my god. But then it progresses, and Mare, the dumb bitch, Elara, who is evil queen, she has brain powers, so she can manipulate everyone's minds, which you do go like, if she can manipulate everyone's minds, why did we not think that she's looked in someone's mind and figured out what the hell you're doing? Like, your plan is not that good. And then Mare's like, oh my god, she's saving us because she loves her son Maven. And it's like, no. Oh, no. Oh, Mare, what are you talking about? That's definitely not happening. And then there's the reveal that she's going to make Cal kill his father. And it's this whole thing. And they've manipulated everyone. And you know what? I do think it is a really strong plot twist. And it's for that reason that I do think the first book ranks really well in terms of plot. It is genuinely really good. And yeah. I think even though the first book, when I used to read them, was my least favourite, and I think it's because the characters are not really there in terms of our relationship with them yet. Like I said, Mare and Cal, it's a situationship. They're definitely not in love. It's a situationship. Mare hasn't really developed a personality yet. She's kind of just doesn't know what to do with herself. As I think any 17-year-old thrust into a court where everyone wants to kill her, but they don't know that because they think she's Silver. But they do want to kill her. But they still want to kill her even when they know she's Silver. But, I, as a 17-year-old, would not cope well with that personally. I don't think I would cope with it well now, to be honest. But yeah, I think the plot in the first book, I think, is the strongest out of all the books, I will say. But I think the characters are still getting there. Which brings me on to the characters. So, like I said, when I first read the books, I was all for Mare Cal. I like where their relationship is at in this book because it doesn't feel too much at all at once. Like I said, it feels like a situationship, which is what it is. There's some feelings there, but we don't really know either of our roles in society. She clearly cares about him. She also clearly doesn't like it when Evangeline's with him, so there's some jealousy there. And it does feel like quite a natural development of there's some kind of early feelings in this relationship. And I think it does then go on to progress quite well in the next few books. I will judge that when I get onto them. I think Cal is a really well done character, especially in this book, in terms of he is a very caring person. He does want to know more about his society, and he does genuinely care about being a good leader. He's kind of like your champagne socialist in that he can see the injustices in society and he thinks they're wrong, but he's kind of like, well, what can we do about it? And this feels very real, to be honest, because I think it makes sense that he is a character who will then go on to be part of the rebellion in the next few books. Starts out like that. He's grown up knowing he's going to lead this kingdom, and the responsibility of that, and also that his power and his ability to enact any change does exist within the current system of power that is there. So he kind of relies on the current system of power to be able to do anything. And he's also obviously very good at kind of tactics and things like that. He has his particular strength. I also think Maven is such a well done character, and I doubt I'm going to change my mind in saying that. I think he's a really well done villain. And obviously he's not a villain in this book, but I do think You really can see the psychology of him as like a younger sibling who always felt like he had to prove himself, has mummy issues, to be honest. He's very well done and believable and well grounded. The two siblings, the two brothers, are really well written, is what I will say. Mare is kind of meh. Like, she's just kind of your standard YA protagonist. She doesn't actually have that much agency. The only thing I can solidly think of that she does in this book that really holds agency for me is deciding she wants to join the Scarlet Guard. And even that, she kind of does because of her brother and all of those things. But I think she does develop this in the next few books. So I'm gonna give her a chance. Because I perhaps think that the reason why I wasn't super locked in on the series from the first book was because I don't think she's as powerful a YA protagonist as some other books yet. Give her a chance. Because I know in Glass Sword, which is the next book, which I'm going to start next, she, I think, steps into her own a little bit more. And I think we start to see her kind of become that character with agency. So yeah, our three main characters I really like, and I like how they're written. I think this book, for me, the reason why I liked the other books is because it is more plot driven, whereas other books are more character driven. But like I said, the characters are really good and well rounded. There are characters that I'd completely forgotten about that it was lovely to see again, like Julian. Forgotten about that man, but we like our, wise trainer character. I was like trying to remember. I'm now like some of them like I'm trying to remember if you die or not later on. I feel like he does. I feel like something happens to him, but I don't know what. Now I'm scared. I knew when I saw Lucas again. I was like, I know you die, because I know that I regularly forget who you are. Even back when I was reading these books all the time, I would start the first book again. I'd be like, oh, I've forgotten about you. So I knew that he died. So yeah, I enjoyed reading the first book. I don't know if I read it and didn't have the kind of bias of it being a book that I love, whether I would enjoy it the same, because a part of it that keeps me turning the pages like, oh, I know what bit's coming next kind of thing. But I do genuinely think these are good books. I think they're age appropriate. I think it was entirely appropriate for me to be reading this at age 11, which, considering the YA genre and how marketing and things, because of sexism, meant that a lot of books that I probably shouldn't have been reading at that age, I ended up reading. This book, I do genuinely feel was age appropriate, and I enjoyed rereading it. I have to say, this is one where 13-year-old me, or in this case 12-year-old me, had good taste, and I stand by it. So go 12-year-old me, woo. I'm going to start reading Glass Sword next. I keep having to look at it to remind me what it's called. Because I feel like I get it mixed up with Throne of Glass, which is not good, because they're inherently different books. I mean, you can see this book is in a lot better condition than Red Queen. I don't know what happened to this book, because I didn't read it more. I mean, King's Cage is an absolute mess. I poured hot chocolate on that book. I read that book so many times. I had it on audiobook. I had it on my iPod. And I would listen to it to go to sleep. And I would listen to it on the way to school. And I would just listen to it at any given moment, because I was obsessed. I remember why I was obsessed with these books. I remember why I wrote fanfiction, because it's fun. And I do think it's an interesting world. It's interesting going back into the world when you have the context of everything. I do think this series does a really good job of beginning in one place, and with each book the world expands slightly more, because I think that's one of the things I've thought about some fantasy series when they haven't had a clear vision of the whole series and maybe added more books in the end and stuff, is they fail when the world's got too big and they can't keep making it bigger. And it's an interesting mix of fantasy and dystopia, I think, because I was trying to think of any other books that have this blend of a post-apocalyptic society where we have abilities, but there is also this royalty and a kind of structure that is similar to your medieval fantasy where you have royalty and magic and things like that, but it is also dystopian. I can't think of other books that have that in the way this book does, that feels very real. Somebody's gonna disagree with me on that though, because there's definitely a lot of post-apocalyptic fantasy books. That's definitely true. But I do think this book is fun, and I will be back to add my opinions once I have finished Glass Sword. I do remember it being more boring. It does suffer from the second book syndrome, and I have no idea why I enjoyed it way more than the first book when I first read it. But we'll see. Maybe I'll really like it again.